Hi, my name is Lindy Cowling. Welcome to my channel. My website is www.lindycowling.co.uk and my email is info@lindycowling.co.uk. And the title of the video today is December Decibels. December 2016 Decibels. And this is like an energetic update, an energetic broadcast. December Decibels. So, since the last time I was on camera, obviously there have been lots of changes in world events. A lot of people have been propelled into polarisation. A lot of people are in a state of shock and fear. Equally, many other people are in a state of almost like, I wouldn't say detachment, but on the outside looking in, experiencing a time that we were always expected to do and it was always prophesied to experience. So there's a proportion of humanity experiencing it that way, but for the bulk of people, they're in a slight tailspin at the moment. And we have had things like the supermoon, we've had all sorts of things going on which have amplified, in a way, the human experience, the energetic experience, all one and the same, and amplified the emotional and the pain body aspect of things. And so we are in an extraordinary period of time, and as we are just about to enter December, the energy that has just been building and building, and it kept building and building and compressing till October, then it changed state again, and the energy that we're in across humanity at this time is an energetic, really, component of, well, the nearest word really would be a form of completion. So what do I mean by completion? I mean we are in a point here, at a point of opportunity as we enter December, to complete generations of and cycles of the old perceptions, the old reality, the old understanding, the old programming. We are at a point here now where, if as a collective species we wish to enter a point of heart consciousness known as, or what I call, the new energy, and the reason I call it the new energy is because it is a state of purity, it is a state of infinite consciousness that has not been programmed, it is newborn, it is untainted, unprogrammed, it's in its original purification, purified state of creation. It's like a ball of creation. You are like a ball of creation that has not yet created when you hit that state of consciousness. And we are at a point in humanity where that has been accessible for a while, but is now become accessible to all. Let me clarify this. Not everybody, because it's accessible to all, it does not mean that all will step into that state of consciousness. It will unfold over a period of time, and it has been unfolding over a period of our perception of time for, well, I've been working with people in that new state of consciousness for about 18 months. I first started seeing it in clients I was working with. Very small proportion of clients I was working with, but that's gradually increasing. And it's increasing because that state of consciousness is increasing across the population, across humanity. So there will be, in the years to come, there will be many people, in fact it will become, let's call it the norm, for the majority of humanity, the bulk of humanity, to be in that new state of consciousness. But at the moment it has been a small percentage, but that is increasing and is set to increase. But the state of consciousness, the template of that state of consciousness is available to all. And although not all will take it or step into it, or some will step into it much later than others, there might not be quite at that entry point yet, that is en masse available. And for all people that have a foot in both camps, shall we say, where they are coming away from the old states of consciousness, coming away from holding a template that exists in the original old state of consciousness, coming away from their understanding of who they were into the understanding of who they truly are. If they are connected, for example, with twin flame union as a template, or any other templates, there are other entry points, that is just one entry point, then they may be at this point of time be finding it incredibly challenging, because they have in a way a foot in two worlds, two states of consciousness, you know, almost we could say in two dimensions, because they are transforming, receiving the old states of consciousness, not just from themselves and through themselves as a template, as a conduit, but for the swathes of humanity. And I'm speaking here from personal experience, experiential, but also speaking from working through the twin flame union state of consciousness, old school, the old school twin flame union state of consciousness. So they are not only just experiencing that, which is far greater than their own pain body and their emotional body, it's the collective, and even tied in with that template, but they are also transitioning, or we are also transitioning, transforming to that potential of, could almost say, making decisions on whether to enter into new energy. Now, the reason I'm hesitating on that, because I feel into everything I'm saying is felt through me, and I feel into it before it comes up and out of my mouth. And the reason I'm hesitating is because I'm from an original template, an old school template, and my role, unbeknown to me consciously until much later on, was to form another template within a template as evidence of a transitionary process into the heart via twin flame union, also to help alleviate, clarify and move people through the template of twin flame union, also to act as a bridge, as a natural medium, and as someone who's worked in trance, you know, qualified in hypnotherapy and all kinds of things for over 17 or nearly 17 years now, to act as a bridge between two states of consciousness, i.e. identifying, clarifying and helping people transition through an old state of consciousness, imprinting on an old template and bridging, act as a bridge, so they walk across that bridge into a new state of consciousness if they are at that point in their own evolution where they already are becoming, or becoming the embodiment of it. So you can't make somebody who's one state of consciousness be able to walk across a bridge into another unless they are at that point within themselves where it's already happening. And they I act as the bridge, just like a medium acts as a bridge between the living and those that have passed over, and obviously I'm a medium as well. It's another form of that. You act as a bridge between two states of consciousness, so people can walk across that bridge in a way. So sort of like carrying that, like the pillar of that bridge. As people cross over into that next state, if they're ready for it. But the reason I was hesitating is because in my own evolution, I am aware very, very strongly of what state of consciousness I have been in, and the state of consciousness that's predominantly concerned with my, let's call it, act of service. But personally, that state of consciousness is not serving me and is no longer going to be able to serve me personally. So why I'm saying this is a decision is that I already know and have the knowing that remaining within that original state of consciousness is not going to serve me any longer personally. And so I've been this bridge between the two, and on a personal level I can still be that bridge between the two and do all the other facets of the work that I do. But I'm using myself as an example here, but I have one foot in new energy already. In a way you could say I have not held myself back, but in order to perform that act of service I've had to have a foot in two camps of energy here. And personally, for me to go on to the next stage, that next stage involves both my feet in new energy. So that's why I hesitated, because I had to feel into it, not only if that was correct, but because it needs to be correct, not just for me, but for the people listening to this. But also to feel, basically, if it can be done, and if that is going to happen, or if I'm just talking a balloon of baloney here, because that's why I'm feeling into it on all levels when I'm saying this. And I have to say, I found it incredibly difficult because I'm wired as active service. It doesn't mean to say with both my feet in new energy I won't be active service. What it will mean is it will be different. So I will be different, slightly different, because I'm entering a state of consciousness, so I will be coming at the work that I do from that perception, which is, I went to say higher than, that wouldn't be correct, slightly different frequency to what I'm working at now. And so personally, if you ask me, well, how long have you had a foot in both camps? It's been a long time, actually. I've probably been aware of a foot in both camps for over a year. And in some ways, by holding that bridge, it's delayed where I could go personally, and I've already made the decision I'm not going to hold that position as that bridge for much longer. So just so that people don't confuse and think, what the hell is she talking about? When you work in energy, I work experientially, so no matter there are several different aspects of work I do, but it's all me, it's all the same me, it's all me coming through that work. But this part of it is significant to who I am, and I truly feel that's what was my whole involvement with Twin Flame Union, is to transition people through that way and across this bridge. And that state of consciousness will always be part of who I am, because it is. But in order to transition onto the next stage, in a way, of consciousness, there is a decision. I could remain for the rest of my life as that bridge, as a bridge, and in a way restrict myself, and it can't happen. I mean, it won't happen because it will be the end of me. Sounds a very dramatic way of putting it. So it's interesting because this is the reason I'm explaining this, is also an aspect of letting go. And if you are at a stage here across the world, which many people are, where they are aware of many aspects of the old of them coming up to the surface, it's like going a bit retrograde, many aspects of life coming up to the surface, many things that they thought were real and safe and secure no longer seeming so. I mean, we just have to use recent examples across the world stage as great examples of this, bringing up huge polarization, change, bringing up a lot of fear, shaking things up. And we ain't seen nothing yet. This is the beginnings of change, not the pinnacle. This is just the beginnings of it. The next 2 or 3 years are going to be significant for this world in all senses of the best possible news and best possible outcome. There has to be change of perception and change of old and letting go of the old to transform both inwardly and outwardly to enter the ultimate states of consciousness. And the ultimate states of consciousness is that the awareness and the reality of creative potential, that clean slate I spoke about, the new energy, the new state of consciousness, right across the board in all aspects of human life, everything from interrelating, from relationships to the workspace, the career space, to every single conceivable area. There's nowhere untouched by that. And that is the next state of evolution. This is something I've talked about from the way I could explain it at the time. For well over a year now, I was bringing out videos called Beyond the Twin Flame Union, bringing out videos called The New Energy, bringing out videos called The Newborns, bringing out energy videos called Ascensionary Soulmates. I was identifying in the way that I could a state of consciousness, that I could read, that I could hear, that I could feel, that I could see in humanity and working, with clients. And I knew it was different to what I had seen or experienced personally or professionally, before. And I knew it was connected with human interrelations and the whole thing's connected. You can't separate these areas off anymore. It's the embodiment of who you truly are. It's an embodiment of an elevated state of consciousness. The nearest you could come to this is a bit like when people talk about that initial, the bubble love or the bubble phase. Well, the new energy is in a way like a form of that. 24/7, 7 days a week. It's kind of there. It's been birthed, and there are people accessing that, and I've been seeing them accessing it for a while. So December Decibels 2016, we are in an extraordinary period of time here, and this is just the very beginnings of that period of time. There is so much more to come, and some of those things are going to be quite dramatic on a world platform, on a world stage. And depending on where people are at in their energy, in their heart, what state of heart they're in, if they are all run by the mind, they're going to find that, quite shocking and distressing. If they're more in the heart, they're going to be able to balance out a little bit easier, but being of the heart, the flip side of that is you feel everything so much more in a different way, but you're so wired into the collective that can be very dramatic, very, not in a scary way, but very dramatic, because you can feel everything especially if you're empathic as well and you're wired into one of those big templates. So it's an extraordinary time. And why I call this December Decibels is because although we're out of that compressed energy now, there's a kind of overwhelm, a collective overwhelm going on. And some of that is, if you're empathic, you're going to feel that anyway, because people are overwhelmed, you know, trying to make sense of their lives. There's so much truth coming out now. And the decibels I'm talking about is the sound of truth. There is so many truths coming out now. You know, just an example, here in the United Kingdom, there are well-known football players, men, going out on the world stage and talking about sexual abuse that's been going on for generations, and they're sitting there, you know, absolutely coming, you know, tears streaming down their face, as raw as you can and vulnerable as you can imagine, you know, which you can feel in your heart, you know. And it's an extraordinary thing. There's another bubble of truth being burst here. That's just one example, but it's massive over here in the UK. Again, we're seeing it across the world stage. All these truths are coming out. So people's idea of what was one way, they're starting to see underneath the surface, and everything is coming up and being revealed. Again, no surprises here, you know, because it was always destined to be around these years that this would all happen. And like I say, we're only at the beginnings of it yet. But for people, you know, that thought things were a certain way, you know, it's throwing them. So the decibels that I'm talking about is actually the sound of truth and the sound of that energy, and those decibels are very loud at the moment. So one of the reasons I haven't been on camera for the last few weeks, apart from I've been experiencing hugely being that bridge between two states of consciousness, and the collective, what's going on in the world, I've been feeling that as well. And up close and personal, just to make sure it came up in my face, lots and lots of practical challenges. Where I'm living is literally being, well, transformed as we speak, really. But to have that transformation happen, all the old is being ripped out, of course, just to mirror what I'm saying. And there's been lots of things happening here, but also the noise, because I experience energy as sound, which translates as a feeling, has been incredible, because I've been able to I can experience the sound of my own soul and my own stuff, but also the collective sound, which is very, very loud at the moment. And the emotions that come up with being able to perceive, if you're at this state of consciousness, you'll know what I mean. Being able to perceive so many truths worldwide at the same time, and it's not that you're not able to say anything about it, it's that, well, that is part of it, because you cannot really share something that you know people aren't ready to hear, and they'll just trigger them, you know. So there is part of that, but also in some ways it can be quite painful to have that awareness, as if you were slightly on the outside of everything looking in, and it just, you know, you just want to, it's not that you just want to help people, you want people to be able to see the reality of it. And it brings up emotion, it brings up it's brought up some anger for me, it's brought up some frustration for me, sadness for me, and it's like, no, I just can't go on camera, anywhere near a camera, while I feel like this, because I'll just be on there. I won't be coming really from what I want to be coming from. It will be more pain body related, and I know exactly what it is and why I'm feeling those things, and really there's only a small percentage of it is mine. I'm hearing that collective cry of injustice, and collective cry of anger, and that collective cry of fear. And although it's all very wonderful, because that's all part of the process, it is a balancing act. And those decibels I'm talking about, those sounds of truth, are only just beginning. As we go in to 2017 now, really the next, I have in me there's something right up to 2024. I feel the next several years, but particularly the next 3 really, are unprecedented, and these are the years that we were talking about when we thought it would come to this point a little bit earlier in the timelines, like 2012, 2013. And it's a time of transformation. So as you are entering this new state of consciousness, you can't get through the door of that new state of consciousness with any of the old on you. I know this because I've been working that energy with people. They don't have anything on them. They don't have karma on them. They don't have baggage on them. There's nothing on their energy field, in their energy field, other than a pure state of consciousness. And it doesn't matter if they're in their 20s, if they're in their 50s, if they're in their 80s. It's when you reach that state of consciousness. And they don't reach it until they've reached it, they have to reach it within before it comes outside of them. And as they reach that state of consciousness, well, they're in the pure infinite potential at that point, where they can literally create. And I mean, of course, they don't know, none of them know what to do. Any of them I've worked with, it's like, well, we know we feel different, and it feels very strange, and it feels very new, and we've got nothing to base it on, because, and they're like sitting there like children in a classroom waiting for the teacher to come in, and of course no one's coming, because it's all about them. So someone like myself just explains, actually it's you, and you're the one that's now creating, and explains what has happened to them, what is happening to them, and what it's about. And then of course they're like, yes, they couldn't put it into words themselves, but I've just clarified it for them. And of course then, in a way, the world's their oyster. It's an extraordinary thing. And so we cannot move into that unless everything that we are holding on to, even if we don't mean to be holding on to it, subconsciously, consciously, programmed to hold on to it, belief systems, habits, unless all of that, we reach a state within us where that's gone, and you cannot force that upon yourself any more than you can force a baby to walk that isn't ready to use its legs yet. But something happens within you. It's as you allow this stuff to come up, and as you get appropriate assistance, depending on where you're at, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever, you'll know the people you're drawn to help you with different stages and different bits of it. Just one day something will just go like that, and you'll know something's different, and you'll feel different, and you won't even know why. And it's happened. And I know this because I'm working with people in all these different states of consciousness, all ends of the spectrum. I've got a foot in both camps here, all of it. And so it's fascinating for me, it's amazing. And I know exactly how that energy runs and how that energy works. And that new state of energy, that embodies total creation, total purity. That is the state of energy where people are connecting spiritually with others automatically. I mean, it's just automatic. They're at a stage of evolution where they actually don't connect with anyone unless it is on those kind of levels anymore. It's a harmonious signature. It's nothing like what you will see in let's call it old forms of energy. The majority of humanity are in old forms of energy. There is a small amount that went through ahead of the game. There are some like me that act as bridges between two states for others to cross. And there are others that are all of the old energy, and doing their stuff there to help people through to a stage where they're even able to even contemplate a state of consciousness, elevated state of consciousness into the new. So December Decibels, expect the sounds of truth to increase, not decrease. If you are at that point where you are feeling it within you, that you are, your own soul and your own gut and your own intuition, your own heart is screaming at you, I'm gonna really die here if I do not live my truth, if I do not make change. If the world situation around you is screaming that echoing that, projecting that, mirroring it back to you. Use it all as an opportunity to address what's coming up, deal with what's coming up. Don't think it's all going to be, it's going to feel sometimes overwhelming, just your stuff, let alone, we're like bison in a herd. We're going to know, even, you know, we're going to know what's happening with the rest of the bison. Because that's the nature on the human level of what we are. We pick up on the collective, we pick up on Earth, whether we've consciously realised it or not. So some of what you're going through isn't even going to be all of yours. But those decibels are going to increase, and they're not increasing in a negative way. They're ringing, the bells are ringing for you to come home. You know, it's like the school bell, home time, or it's like the divine bells are ringing for you to come back home. Home to who you truly are. Home to the heart. Home is truly where the heart is. Truly. Home to the reality. Home to the truths, because it all has to change inwardly before it can change outwardly in your outward lives, but for the outward lives of this planet and the collective. And there's no stopping this process. It's happening. It's been reached. Really, it's just a question of how slowly or how quickly, or if you're going to even choose to cross that bridge into that inner state of consciousness or not. The bells are going to keep ringing. They're going to keep ringing, and they're going to keep getting louder. Because at the end of the day, your soul wants your optimal state. Your soul wants your purified state. Your soul wants the highest outcome for you. So don't expect them to get quieter. If anything, expect that to get louder. Because it's encouraging you to come away from the old and metamorphosize, transform into your ultimate state of reality. On that note, I will love you and leave you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I wish you so much love. Be kind to yourselves, because you probably are experiencing a lot of stuff at the moment, and that can be overwhelming because a lot of it isn't just yours and just your bloodlines and just the humanity. It's the whole collective shebang that a lot of you are experiencing, you know, at least echoes of, but some much stronger than that if you're empathic, or if you are connected with one of those main transformation templates like Twin Flame Union. So one day at a time, be kind to yourselves, but as an overall process, this evolutionary step is on track. No doubts about it. It's on track. Loads of love. Take care. Bye.